Alright, you've got yourself a nice crisis arc and some decent research. Let's go investigate what Backroom is doing. Hold on, you don't know who Backroom is? Oh, brother. Obviously, you have the delegates, but there's a lot more staff than usual. Let's pick apart this room one by one. Okay, here is the dais. GA and CrisisMUN share the same dais. They both have a chair and co-chairs. They'll be the ones keeping order in the committee, also known as front room. In front room, you'll use your familiar moderated and unmoderated caucuses to address any crisis update that appears. However, there are a few unique elements in crisis that can be motioned in for the committee to enjoy. Your dais will want you to know their specific parliamentary procedures, Parli Pro, before going into committee. They will usually include their version of Parli Pro in a background guide provided to you before the conference. If you're unsure, just ask. Although specific conferences have their own slight variations in parliamentary procedure, generally, you can find the following points and motions in all crisis committees. Point of order, raised when the chair has made an error. Point of information, raised to introduce relevant information into debate. At NBTHS Model United Nations conferences, POIs can be raised after a speaker concludes to question the speaker. Point of personal privilege, raised when a delegate's participation in committee is impaired. Point of parliamentary inquiry, raised to question the dais on any rules or procedures. Right of reply, raised when the delegate is personally attacked in debate on the floor. Motion to introduce documents, puts documents on the floor to be debated by the committee. The motion can encompass multiple documents or a single one. Motion to propose amendment, raised to propose an amendment to a document on the floor. Motion to enter voting procedure, raised to vote on anything on the floor. The points and motions mentioned are not the only ones you can use. However, it is important to know how and when to use them. Let's step away from the dais. Oh, look here, it's the backroom staff. Backroom is one of the fundamental differences between GA and CrisisMUN. They receive your backroom notes, directives, and any other documents passed in committee to create relevant crisis updates. The backroom is made up of two types of staff: crisis analysts and the crisis director. Crisis analysts work closely with delegate materials to log and respond to backroom notes and the committee. Everything you write to backroom is handled by these staff members. Be nice to them, as they also decide how important you are to the committee and if you are making your way to an award, not just the dais. The crisis director coordinates with all the crisis analysts to address the committee via crisis updates. I know, I've brought them up too much, but they're important. The crisis director compares your work with that of other delegates and decides if your actions are worth revealing to the committee or if they're even relevant. That seems to be all the staff. To the outro. Stay tuned to find out how these staff work together and how President Bush will utilize them.